Graveyard Overdrive is the black, green, and red colored Modern Horizons 3 Commander Precon. The deck's face, Dissa the Restless, returns Lurgoyf permanents sent from your graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield back onto the battlefield. She also makes a Lurgoyf token when a creature you control deals combat damage. She wants you to mill Goyfs, discard Goyfs, and swing with Goyfs. She works hard to keep your board full so long as you want your board full of Lurgoyfs. The backup legend, Karam the Undertaker, gains the power of the strongest creature in all graveyards. To enable this, he forces everyone to mill 1 when he attacks. He even lets you play cards put into anyone's graveyard this turn. That word was play and not cast, allowing him to recur other players' lands if you desire. This legend wants you and your opponents to have large graves which are constantly getting added to. The deck's goals are aligned with where the two legends meet, which is in graveyard interactions. The deck is built to mill and discard high-cost creatures to either cheat them back in or to use their power from the grave. But aside from the two potential commanders, there are no spells that return creatures from your yard into play. They recollect your cards, returning them back to hand. This makes us feel that the deck is far more comfortable just making tokens and feeding them to bigger creatures for damage and value. The Goyf tokens in particular, which snowball in games where graves are constantly being added to, are the most dangerous and easiest token to make in the deck. As for the tech hidden within, this deck is far better suited to Dissa than it is to Karam. Altar of the Goyf, for example, can only be cast from your yard with Karam the turn it gets milled. With Dissa, once she sees it milled, it gets put right back into play. And we don't need to tell you that Lurgoyfs with Trample is kinda dangerous. Maskwood Nexus is another powerful tribal card that is affected by Dissa's first ability, which allows her to put any creature you mill into play as a Lurgoyf permanent. Now it is time for the final grades. For the deck's consistency or how well it can ramp and draw, we grant it a B. The deck has very little draw, but it supplements that through many mill effects. You will have to throw out cards often until you find the particular one that you need, and if you don't find it, well, you'll just have to keep digging. There are no non-land tutors in this deck, but Karam's ability to put lands that were milled into play will always keep your mana base fixed. Next is how strong can the deck be, or power ceiling. And in this category we grant them a B. Goyf tokens are dangerous, but this deck lives and dies by combat. Since you mill off the top, you can't really rely on cheating in a Goyf permanent that isn't in your hand and ready to be discarded. Not being able to put a particular Goyf from the deck into play is a serious downside. Next is what all those permanents you resolve will look like, your board presence. And in this category, this deck earns an A. With tokens that constantly get bigger, which then also make more of the same token when they connect, this deck can dish out 1 or 2 direct hits and become a real issue real quick. Plus, the ample recollect effects will keep the main enablers in play no matter how often they get broken. For creativity or how much input does the pilot have on the deck's outcome, we granted a B, because you are most definitely locked into the token and mill plan with this deck. There is some choice if you want to play it more aristocrats or purely going wide, but in the end you will make Goyf tokens and you will fill everyone's graveyards. And lastly, how much magic knowledge do you need to pilot the deck effectively, or the ease of use? And for this, we grant them an A. Far from the thought seizes of its native format, the hungry Lurgoyfs in this deck are even more straightforward. We feel anyone that isn't too afraid of discarding, milling, or sacrificing cards, with more or less no way to recur them, can pilot this deck fairly competently. If you wish to go out and buy this deck, we would recommend upgrading it with actual reanimation spells, foregoing the Goyf tribal entirely. But if you are sentimental for the Lurgoyf creature type, sneak attack effects would really shine in a deck like this. If you want to see more in detail or have a particular precon reviewed, let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to let others know what they can add to upgrade their Dissa deck. We've been Jada Kaiser, hoping to help each of you sharpen your ears.